Our Around the World segment tonight, North Korea's army is on maximum alert after Vice President Mike Pence visited the North Korean border today. Pence warned North Korea that it should not mistake the resolve of the United States of America to stand with our allies. This comes, of course, after North Korea reportedly attempted another failed missile test this weekend. Check it out.
But as the president's made very clear, either China will deal with this problem or the United States and our allies will. Now, with regard to a change, we have literally gone through decades. It was some quarter century ago that we first learned of the presence of nuclear weapons on the Korean Peninsula in the possession of North Korea. There was an agreed framework. There was a period of strategic patience. But the era of strategic patience is over. President Trump has made it clear that the patience of the United States and our allies in this region has run out, and we want to see change.
Joining me now from the Washington Free Beacon, Adam Kredo. Adam, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, Adam, we hear this phrase. Vice President Mike Pence used it just today. He said strategic patience. He used that. He said the United States and our allies, that we've run out of strategic patience for North Korea. Just the fact, Adam, that the Vice President of the United States went to the North Korean border, to me, says a great deal. I mean, Adam, your sources, what are they telling you? How close are we actually to war with North Korea?
Well, I wouldn't say war. I don't think war is the right word. I truly don't believe North Korea is really prepared to engage in a proper war with the United States as much as they might kind of posture and claim that they can. Look, they haven't successfully tested any sort of missile that can reach us. They certainly have the technology, but just like when it comes to Iran and some of these other bad actors, and as we saw just more recently in Syria, when the U.S. actually puts down the gauntlet and takes action, I think that's going to be a real wake-up call, especially for North Korea. And I think a lot of the people that warn us against taking action on North Korea warn about China. But when it comes down to it, I do question how willing China is going to be to go out on a limb for North Korea, knowing that the U.S. is prepared to take action. I don't see it happening.
Right, and the people who are warning us against action, those are the same people that supported Obama's foreign policy that arguably put us into this situation with North Korea. The fact that he let all of these tests, these nuclear tests, happen and didn't do anything. But let me go back to something you said before. You said you don't know if North Korea is actually prepared to go to war with us, if they're prepared, if they have the capacity to actually attack us here. And I understand what you're saying, but on the other hand, we have reports that North Korea has a nuke in the tunnel ready to blow here. I mean, do we have the intelligence embedded within North Korea, even though they're a closed communist nation, to actually know if they're prepared?
Well, sure, we do have a level of intelligence, and it's told us at this point that their ballistic missile capability, while advanced, is not actually quite able to, one, reach the United States. Now, two, of course, they could hit their neighbor and our ally, South Korea, and I think that that's a big danger and a fear. But I do wonder just how willing they are to take this action, know that it won't be a comparable response from the United States. It'll be a crushing response that will take this regime out for good. If the North Korean regime, as crazy as they might be, wants to retain control and power, they're not going to take this action. It's been too long for them to allow to posture and run failed test missions 8 years under the Obama administration, where the Obama administration would say, well, we're exhausting all the diplomatic channels. The diplomatic channels have run dry. The time
right,
now,
like
we saw Trump do was serious for action.
Dennis Rodman was one of the best representatives that we sent to North Korea. Not that he went on behalf officially of our government, but that's not exactly exhausting diplomatic actions.
No, you're absolutely right about it. It was comical, especially the way they got Dennis Rodman to kind of do PR for them. That was actually somewhat funny and also frightening to watch. But look, I think the North Koreans know very well the Tomahawk strike in Syria was just the beginning. We're ready to address this threat. The North Koreans can no longer make nuclear progress themselves, and the North Koreans can no longer be permitted to provide the Iranians with this nuclear technology. This is part of the sanctions package that we've seen, not just targeting North Korea, but targeting Iran and this black market procurement network that I think is a very big and major deal. The message between Syria and the message to the North Koreans that we'll likely send very soon is also a message to the Iranians and also, mind you, a message to the Russians.
Right, and I guess it remains to be seen or it's due to how much of a grip Kim Jong-un has on reality versus fantasy, if he truly has a death wish, if he's willing to accept the consequences of, say, attacking South Korea, because that would, of course, bring him probably almost immediate death here, but we don't know. I mean, if he truly thinks that the entire world is against him, if he's almost one of the brainwashed masses himself, maybe he is willing to accept that. We don't quite know. But in regards to the missile test that happened this weekend, it was 4.5, 5 seconds, I think, in the air before it exploded. There were immediate reports, Adam, that I'm sure you heard these, that this was hacked by the United States. This was a cyber attack that prevented this from being successful. KT McFarland, she addressed this. Actually, someone asked her directly. This is what she said.
Did the U.S. sabotage this missile?
Now, Chris, you know we can't talk about secret intelligence and things that might have been done, covert operations that might have happened, so I really have no comment on that, and nor should I.
But as Greg Palkot pointed out, there have been cyber attacks in the past. Should the Kim regime consider that a possibility?
Well, the cyber attacks that have occurred in the past are on the part of the Kim regime when they hacked Sony Pictures. So, you know, I do think we're entering a whole new era, not just with North Korea, but with everybody, with any country, major country. We are entering a cyber platform, a cyber battlefield. That is where a lot of the wars of the future are going to be fought. But I don't have any particular comment on what happened with the North Korean missile.
All right, Adam, what do you make of this from the Deputy National Security Advisor? Is that posturing? Is she just teasing North Korea with psychological games? Or is that basically an innuendo for a yes, we did that?
To be quite honest, I think it's a little bit of both. I asked multiple people at the White House NSC just today to comment on the same issue and got a very similar response that we have no comment, but a little bit of a wink wink as well. Look, we know Stuxnet was a creation of the U.S. and also some of our other allies, and that it worked very well. We know that the U.S. no longer has its head in the sand when it comes to cyber. I would argue that we're quite a bit behind some of our enemies, such as North Korea, China, Iran, and even Russia and some others. But this is in the realm of possibilities, and it's a great way to actually engage in crippling North Korea's system without actually launching any sort of missile. So while I think it's certainly a possibility, I don't think that this is actually going to end the North Korean threat. At the end of the day, in my view, we're going to need a little bit more action in the same way we've seen with Iran. We can put the centrifuges spinning with viruses for some time, but that's never going to ultimately solve the problem there. And I think it's the same in North Korea.
Right, it's kicking the can down the road, but this I think is another example. This is just a contrast between Obama's foreign policy, and I know a lot of people are being critical of Trump, saying that he has no foreign policy doctrine, but really at this point he's just cleaning up the mess. I mean, Obama left the world in flames, his weak foreign policy, the permissiveness that he allowed places like Iran or North Korea. I mean, it led to this. It led to the fact that Trump now has to move beyond just kicking the can down the road, and he has to decide what he's going to do, how he's going to do it, and what the consequences are going to be all around. That's a very difficult position to be in. I guess it's interesting, and I don't know if interesting is the right word, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Adam, I appreciate you coming on the show today. It was great to talk to you.